Afrikaners occupy a footprint far beyond their size. While making up just 6% of the South African population, they command 20% of all music sales. This commercial engine runs on a hyper-energetic landscape of comedic, electronic party pop, displacing traditional high culture. It is an odd development for a community historically defined by rigid, Calvinist conservatism and intense historical trauma. This appetite for the bizarre serves as a psychological survival strategy, tracing its roots back to a century-old experience of total societal devastation. In May 1902, the Anglo-Boer War ended with the total collapse of the Boer republics. Returning fighters drifted back to a landscape that looked like the end of the world. British scorched earth policies had reduced family farms to ash, while tens of thousands of Boer women and children perished from disease and malnutrition in British concentration camps. Lord Alfred Milner, the British proconsul, followed this physical ruin with an aggressive campaign to erase the Afrikaans language and identity through institutional ridicule. He intended to wipe out the last traces of Boer culture through strict social control. The Boer response was an unexpected psychological reflex. They began to laugh. This was a terrible laughter, a somatic insurgence where humor acted as a release valve for the internal pressure of ultimate despair. In the camps, a permanent cultural instinct took hold. When stripped of land, power, and even the right to speak freely, the joke became the final unassailable weapon of the underdog. By the 1930s, an emerging Afrikaner establishment attempted to bury this wilder, defensive humor. Organizations like the FAK worked to construct a purified, dignified identity that would help legitimize their political aspirations. But the working class resisted this sanitization. A massive star named David de Lange rose to fame by singing jazz-influenced comedic songs about booze, parties, and the impure life of the mining towns. Cultural elites viewed de Lange's rough, comedic rebellion as a profound embarrassment. They systematically banned him from the airwaves, ensuring his name disappeared from the official records of the era. This institutional silencing only pushed the comedic reflex deeper into the Afrikaner psyche, creating a permanent tension between official seriousness and unauthorized rebellion. The fall of apartheid in 1994 shattered the state-sponsored Afrikaner identity once again, leaving a younger generation to navigate what scholars have called a legacy of shame. Surviving this collapse meant abandoning the old, serious nationalism entirely. To find a new identity, they began to destroy the cultural icons of their parents. This vacuum birthed Zef culture. They reclaimed a derogatory term for poor whites, originally linked to the Ford Zephyr car, and transformed it into a badge of pride. Zef utilized exalted hybridity, a deliberate performance of trashy aesthetics like mullets and kitsch, as a total rejection of elite, globalized standards of correct behavior. Modern electronic artists expanded this into redemptive stupidity. By using high-energy, absurd comedic narratives, they create a space where they can exist without carrying the moral weight of their ancestors. This performance creates a shield. If you preemptively embrace the role of the fool, the external judgment of a disgraced history has nowhere to land. By voluntarily becoming the joke, they found a way to navigate their post-apartheid reality on their own chaotic terms. Analyzing this modern spectacle through a sociological lens reveals a much older function at play beneath the neon lights. These absurd performers serve as a digital version of the West African griot, or what Afrikaners historically call the storieverteller, the storyteller. Whether playing an acoustic concertina or dropping a heavy synth beat, the storieverteller processes the community's trauma and records its history. They bind people together by making sense of the everyday. Beneath the crude aesthetics and self-deprecating humor, these artists are executing the ancient, serious work of cultural preservation. The arc of the last century runs from the silenced despair of the 1902 concentration camps to the massive, unapologetic stadium anthems of today. A culture's actual resilience resides in its psychological capacity to laugh at itself, often outlasting the rigid monuments or puritanical leaders that claimed to speak for it. This laughter of the underdog is what keeps the Afrikaner culture wild, transgressive, and uniquely alive, even as the political and social landscape shifts beneath it.